Shooting wakes up in a bedroom in the arms of a lady and he is shocked by how he got into such a situation. The lady was attempting to sleep with him, but the drugs she gave him quickly wore off. Chucking begins to wonder if he got reborn because, as far as he can remember, 300 years ago he accidentally entered the fairy world, after which he began his cultivation journey. He worked so hard during those years to become a swordsman cultivator, but when he was about to reach the realm of eternity, he unexpectedly opened a hall of time and space and returned to Earth when he was 17. He quickly leaves the room and goes outside. Getting outside, he feels glad that he will be seeing his family again after a very long time. However, he notices something strange as he looks around the city. He sees that women are in charge of every activity and are with roles and responsibilities that men take in a normal world. He heads to the library to find out why things turned out this way. He discovers that in ancient times an event occurred that altered women's physiology, making them stronger and smarter. In this world, women are superior to men, and in fact they chase men as opposed to men chasing women. He finds this very absurd and hopes that it's not the same with his family too. He heads home and sees his father taking care of the home. Linian, to his father, is surprised to see him since he said he was going to visit his friend and would be returning late. His father perceives the scent of a woman's perfume on his body and starts to rebuke him, telling him about a young boy that was recently raped. His mom is now in a business meeting, so he leaves his father
and goes to check on his sister. He goes into her room and finds her watching porn, and he feels irritated. After a while, she dresses up for a hangout with her friends and tells Linian that she would be coming back late. Her father doesn't hold her back since girls have to go out and make money for themselves and can't be tied down like men.
Chuchinen returns home from work and Chu Tang becomes excited to see his mom again. He observes how his father is acting towards his mom and finds it very awkward and disgusting that his mom is the breadwinner of the family while his father is just with the responsibilities of a wife. He wonders if this is how he would end up too. He can't bear this, so he leaves his parents and goes to his room. In his room, he opens his drawer and sees several letters. Then he realizes that he is the school flower of his secondary school, all the girls want him. He finds this irritating and becomes determined to cultivate as soon as possible so he can leave this strange upside-down world and return to his original world. He starts his cultivation practice, and after a while, his senses become sharpened. Suddenly, his sister calls him and tells him that she is in trouble. Some ladies are holding her hostage at a bar, and they tell him to bring the black bag under his sister's bed immediately if he doesn't want her hurt. He picks up the bag and heads there immediately. He is not going to let anyone mess with his family. On getting there, he gives them the bag, which unknowingly to his sister contained a huge sum of money. His sister is released, and as they turn to take their leave ahead of the assailants, Ju stops them. She admires Chu Ting and tells him to stay back while his sister leaves. His sister tries to defend him, but he steps in and slaps Jaw when she begins to talk naughty. She tries to hit him, but he resists her. She then orders her ladies to attack him, but he beats them all in a snap. He and his sister start to leave. However, Joe brings out a gun and threatens to shoot him, and while Chu Shou begs, a lady walks in. She has been enjoying the scene. Chu King recognizes her. It's the lady from the beginning when he got reborn, Changxi. She tells him that she runs the bar. She then tells Joe to leave while she handles the rest, but while Joe tries to protest, she orders them to take her away and cut her feet and hands. Changxi admires him too and wants to make him her boyfriend, but he tells her that he isn't interested. She starts to compare how weak men are to women, and this causes Chu Ting to suggest they play a game together to test who is stronger. The deal is that if he wins, she won't disturb him anymore, but if she wins, he will become her boyfriend. Soon begins the game while women in this world are extraordinary and see men as insignificant. Chu Ting seeks to prove that he isn't an ordinary human. He unleashes his strength, and Changxi, feeling intimidated, offers that if he becomes her husband, no other woman in the city will be able to lay their hands on him. Women are the pillars of the world, and as a man, he will end up taking care of a woman's wings anyway. However, he turns down the offer in strong support of men and leaves with his sister. Changxi finds him amusing, seeing that he is very different from all other men, and she continues to have an interest in him. As soon as Chu Ting returns home with his sister, he continues his cultivation practice so he can quickly reach his true strength. The next day at school, he sees his best friend Lin Dong. However, when he notices that he is acting feminine, he gets irritated and makes an excuse to go away from him. In the class, he sits by his desk, frustrated about still being in this absurd world. Sandra, the class president, comes over to him to ask about his well-being, but another girl gets jealous and bullies her off. However, Chu Ting pushes her away, and it almost leads to a fight before Yimao, Changxi's brother, appears and stops them. Yimao takes Chu Ting outside and apologizes for what his sister did to him the previous day. Changxi had drugged Chu Ting while she gave him a lift in her car and took him to her bedroom. After school, as Chu Ting walks home, Changxi stops her car and tells him to get in. For the sake of his family, he gets in the car, and she drives off. After a while, he warns her about messing with his family. However, she tells him that she wasn't threatening him but only wants to help with his parents' business. She later asks him if he practices old martial arts, but he lies to her, telling her that it is already known that men cannot cultivate, so there's no way he would be able to practice martial arts. Suddenly, they are hit by an oncoming vehicle, which causes their car to tumble. Chu Ting gets injured but still manages to save Changxi. Some bunch of females appear with clubs in their hands and start coming towards them.
Chensi gets offended and starts to fight against them for hurting Chu Ting. Chu Ting, feeling underestimated again, joins in the fight to prove that he isn't as weak. After beating all of them, Chu Ting attempts to start going home before his dad becomes worried, but Chensi receives a call in which she is told that her mom was also assaulted and got hurt. She becomes teary and begs Chu Ting to stay with her. Chu Ting considers the situation and concludes that the attacks on both her and her mom didn't occur by coincidence. Chensi fears that her mom would die and her aunt would kick her out of the family. Chu Ting tries to calm her and then follows her home. On getting home, Chu Ting is stopped at the gate from entering on the order of Chensi's aunt, that no one except Chensi should be allowed in. Chu Ting identifies himself as a doctor who has come to check on Chensi's mom. They dive in, wondering how a man got to be a doctor, and still do not allow him to enter. Luckily, Chu Ting studied medicine while he was in the fairy world. He starts to diagnose the health problems of the security agents just by looking at them, and they become shocked. They then allow him in, but when he and Chensi make their way in, Chensi's aunt, Mei, crosses them and tells Chu Ting that he has to prove himself before he can enter the family. She calls on her daughter, Meyer, to test him if he is skilled or not. Mei does this so she can have an accusation against Chensi. She wants to tempt Chensi to help Chu Ting while Meyer harms him, which is against the rules of the family. Meyer asks that Chu Ting would spend the night with her if she wins against him in a fight. Chensi tries to protest, however. Shooting agrees to it and tells them to get started with the fight. Meyer makes the first move to attack him, but he dodges it and knocks her out in one hit. Mei is shocked and starts to rant. He and Chensi then head into the house to meet Chensi's mom. On getting to her room, Chensi's mom, doubting he can help her, tells him to excuse them. He quickly diagnoses her situation in one glance, which gets her attention and makes her demand that the others leave the room while she talks to them alone. She suspects that he was sent by the Lai family and asks what his intention is for Chensi. However, he tells her that he is not from the Lai family and is just a friend of Chensi. She believes him and shows him her wound. Shooting is shocked by how worse the wound has become. Though she can resist it now, it would lead to damage to her internal organs in 5 days. He then places his hand over the wound and starts to absorb it, however, he can't absorb it all at his current level. Chensi's mother becomes relieved and appreciates him for helping. On his way home, he looks at the wound he absorbed in his palm, however, he can't eradicate it at his current level. He knows an elixir from the fairy world that is used for handling stuff like this but wonders if it will be available in this world too. The next day he arrives at school and sees Tang Xian playing basketball with all the boys admiring her. She suddenly walks up to him asking him to play basketball with her. He agrees and snatches the ball from her. She tells him to compete with her, and if she wins he will become her boyfriend, but if she loses to him she will do whatever he wants. The game starts. She collects the ball and quickly scores her first point. Shooting is shocked. She gets the ball in her possession again and tries to score another point, but he blocks it and collects the ball. He tells her it's his turn and goes on to score a point by jumping from an unbelievable distance. He wins and asks her out on a date, but she replies that he needs to become stronger if he wants a date with her. Later at family's mansion, Chensi asks him how she can reward him for saving her and her mom. Chu King thinks of some silly thoughts and smiles and tells her to give him some time to thank him. However, he made some progress in his pure aura and spiritual body when he helped Chensi's mom with her wounds. He becomes determined to completely heal Chensi's mom next time so he can fully awaken his spiritual body. As he walks home, Liu crosses him and threatens him to stay away from Tang Simeon. However, Shooting ignores him. This gets Liu annoyed, and he tries to lay hands on him, but Chu King dodges it and beats him and his female bodyguards. Shooting wonders why Tang Xian plans to marry such a stupid guy and thinks of a way to investigate the matter. He remembers Chensi's reward offer and decides to ask her for a private investigator. Chu Ting waits at the bar for the private investigator. A young lady named Shen Huahua approaches him and introduces herself as the investigator. Chu Cheng can't believe his eyes, he thinks she's underage. Chen Huahua asks about his relationship with Chensi and begins to flirt with him, telling him to be her boyfriend. Chu King gets embarrassed and goes straight to the reason he came. He asks her about Tang Xian's family. She tells him that Tang's family is one of the huge families in the city and they own most of the city's large business corporations, but recently they've had some problems which caused their financial status to become unstable. The Lai family proposed a marriage between Lai Yui and Tang Xinian if the Tang family wants them to assist in solving their problems. He is surprised as Tang Xian never mentioned these to him in his past life. He then asks Chunhuahua about alchemy, wondering if alchemic families also exist in this world. To his surprise, Xinhuaguai tells him that the Tang family is one of the alchemic families and they specialize in elixirs and medicines. He then asks her for more information. She tells him about the two known alchemy types, the common alchemy which works by using extraordinary internal power to prepare elixirs, and the other which uses spiritual power. She tells him the second alchemy type is completely out of her scope, and he wonders if there are people like him also in this world. He tries to ask her for more information, but she tells him she would only answer if he goes with her for dinner and follows her to a small eatery. He becomes shocked when she orders pork skewers and beers and also finds out that other women are ordering the same. He soon remembers that this world is the reverse of the original after all. Shenhuagua soon gets drunk, and he carries her home. He places her on her bed, and as he tries to take his leave, she grabs him and tells him to stay with her. After she has slept, Shooting takes her phone and starts to search for more information. He opens a confidential transaction document and sees an auction house where rare items are auctioned. He thinks of something that could be worth a lot in this world which he can auction to make a lot of money. Some days later, he practices cultivation and obtains a spiritual rock. Spiritual rocks are known to make cultivation rhythm faster and aid in practicing old martial arts. They can be obtained through the veins or cultivating eternity. There are no spiritual rocks in this world, so he plans to auction this one at Chenxi's family residence. He completely heals Chenxi's mother, and she promises to return the favor whenever he has any problem. As he goes home, he reasons that he needs to cultivate as much as he can to revive his spiritual body. Suddenly, Chenxi stops him and kisses him as a little present for healing her mom and promises to give him the complete present someday. Shu King gets home and continues his cultivation process until he finally revives his spiritual body.